Hello and welcome everyone to the Drishti IAS English YouTube channel. My name is Pragya and in today's episode of Polity Primer, we are going to discuss a very important constitutional office. So the title of our today's discussion is Attorney General for India. Kindly let me know and I shall be asking this question to you that whether it is Attorney General for India or it is Attorney General of India. Kindly let me know in the comment box below. So, in this discussion, we will be studying about who is the Attorney General. We are also going to see the appointment and eligibility of the Attorney General for India. Then we are going to see duties and functions of the AG. We are also going to see the rights and limitations on the post of the AG. And we are also going to understand who are the Solicitor of General of India and as well as Advocate General for the state. And in the end, we are going to see a practice question for your prelims examination and a practice question for your mains examination. So if I talk about the background of our today's topic, you must have heard in the news in many Supreme Court cases that the AG is representing the government of India. For example, the recent case is the electoral bonds case. So why is this office important? How was this office created? Let us understand. Okay. So if I talk about the post of the constitutional post of the Attorney General of India or Attorney General for India. Okay, so Attorney General for India is the highest law officer in the country. His main task is to represent the government of India in various legal matters. Okay, and if I talk about the constitutional provisions in this regard, then Article 76 of the Constitution provides for the office of AG for India. Okay. Now let us understand the constitutional provisions in this regard. So firstly, Article 76 mandates that there shall be an Attorney General for India. Then Article 88 talks about his right to speak in and take part in the proceedings of the Parliament. Okay. Then Article 105 talks about his privileges and immunities. Okay. So these are the constitutional provisions with respect to the Attorney General for India. Okay, now let us understand the appointment and eligibility of the post of Attorney General for India. So, if I talk about the appointment, who appoints the Attorney General for India, then he is appointed by the President on the advice of the government. Kindly remember, this is very important from the perspective of your prelims point of view, that he is appointed under which article? Under Article 76 Clause 1. Under Article 76 Clause 1 by the President on the recommendation of the government. So, you can directly say that the doctrine of pleasure of the President. Doctrine of pleasure of the President comes into play. So, his appointment is directly dependent on the doctrine of pleasure of the President. Okay, not only his appointment, apart from this, his term of office. Okay, because this is not specified in our Indian Constitution, the term of office of Attorney General for India. Not only this, his removal. Everything is subject to the doctrine of pleasure of the President of India. She must be a person who is qualified to be appointed a judge of the Supreme Court, as he is the highest law officer representing government of India in various legal cases. That is why he should be capable enough to be the Supreme Court judge. And where is this appointment of the Supreme Court judge is mentioned? It is mentioned in Article 124 of our Indian Constitution. Article 124 of our Indian Constitution, which basically talks about the Supreme Court. So let us understand what is the eligibility. That is, she must be a citizen of India. First criteria, must have been a judge of some high court for 5 years or an advocate of some high court for 10 years. Okay, second criteria, or an eminent jurist in the opinion of the President. So, as you can understand, this is very similar, like he should be eligible to become a judge of the Supreme Court. And so, the criteria also for becoming the Attorney General for India is quite similar to the appointment of the judge of the Supreme Court, which is mentioned in Article 124 of our Indian Constitution. Now, let us understand his duties and liabilities. Okay, rights and duties of the Attorney General for India. So his first duty is to give advice to the government of India upon such legal matters which are referred to him her by the president. So this is what I was talking about, and this is mentioned in Article 76 clause 2, that in most of the cases before various important high courts, various other high courts, before the Honorable Supreme Court, who gives representation to the government of India? The Attorney General for India. Okay, to perform such other duties of a legal character that are assigned to him her by the president. Government often needs legal advices. Okay, government is involved in contracts, government is involved in making of tenders, government is involved in mergers and acquisitions as well. So who is advising primarily the government of India? The Attorney General for India. Okay, to appear on behalf of the government of India in all cases in the Supreme Court, or in any case in any high court in which the government of India is concerned. So as per Article 76 clause 3, Article 76 clause 3, the Attorney General for India has a right to audience throughout the courts in India, no matter the Supreme Court, High Court, various other courts in which the government of India is directly a party. The Attorney General has a right to audience as per Article 76 clause 3. Another important point for your prelims examination, this question can be asked directly in a form of a statement. That right of audience of Attorney General for India is given under which article? If you talk about PCS as well, like the PCS exams also, this is a very important question, and it is given under Article 76 clause 3 of our Indian Constitution. Let us examine some of the more duties and functions of the Attorney General for India. So, to represent the government of India in any reference made by the President to the Supreme Court under Article 143 of our Indian Constitution. So, Article 143 of our Indian Constitution talks about the advisory jurisdiction of the Supreme Court of India. Advisory jurisdiction of the Supreme Court of India, in which the President directly asks the advice of the Supreme Court on various important legal issues or various important national happenings that are happening in the country, on which the President deems fit to consider the Supreme Court of India. We'll discuss the advisory jurisdiction of the Supreme Court when we'll be discussing the Supreme Court in our lectures. Okay. To discharge the functions conferred on him her by the Constitution or any other law. So, this is very important because Attorney General for India is a constitutional post. Okay, it is completely and mentioned in the Constitution, his appointment, eligibility, his duties, etc. All of this is mentioned in our Indian Constitution. So it becomes very important duty of the Attorney General for India to abide by the Constitution of India as well as any other law which is in the force. Now let us understand some of the rights and limitations of the Attorney General for India. So firstly, he has the right to speak and to take a part in the proceedings of both the houses of the Parliament. Though he does not have a right to vote, okay, but he has a right to participate. And this is the difference between Attorney General in US, UK and in India, that he cannot vote, but in US and UK, the Attorney General is part of the cabinet. Okay, that means he also has a right to vote, but in India, this is not the case. Attorney General, though, has a right to participate in the parliamentary proceedings, but he cannot vote. Okay, but without a right to vote. Okay. She enjoys all the privileges and immunities that are available to a member of the Parliament by virtue of Article 105 of our Indian Constitution. We discussed this when we were discussing the constitutional provisions as well. So this is Article 105, by virtue of which he is also, entitled to some of the privileges and immunities that are given to the MPs in the houses. Okay. She does not fall in the category of government servants. Very important point. He is not a government servant. Though the post is a constitutional post, but still he is not a government servant. Always remember this. Okay. And she is not debarred from private legal practice. So this issues often arises, that whenever there is a advocate who has been selected to represent the government of India as Attorney General for India, okay, So whenever he resigns or he is removed or his tenure becomes complete, the question often arises that is he entitled to his own private practice? The answer is yes. He can privately practice, but the impediment is, however, he should not advise or hold a brief against the government of India. Neither he can represent the accused persons in the criminal cases. So this is a very big impediment on his private practice, that he cannot go against the government of India even when his services from government of India as Attorney General for India is removed or is completed. Okay, so this is a very important impediment. Kindly remember this. Now let us examine some of the post of Solicitor General of India. Okay, so who is the Solicitor General of India? So this is the Attorney General. Then he is assisted by the Solicitor General of India, and generally Solicitor General Tushar Mehta is often in the news. Okay, do let me know who is the current Attorney General of India and who is the current Solicitor General of India. So Attorney General is assisted by the Solicitor General of India as well as Additional Solicitor Generals. Additional Solicitor Generals. Okay, and Solicitor General of India is not mentioned in the Constitution of India. So the Solicitor General of India is the second highest legal officer in the country, serving under the Attorney General, who holds the highest position. Okay. So as I was explaining, Attorney General, Solicitor General and Additional Solicitor Generals. So they come below the Attorney General and help the Attorney General for India and work under the Attorney General for India. Okay. Apart from the Attorney General, the Indian government has other legal officers, including the Solicitor General and Additional Solicitor General, who support the Attorney General in carrying out his duties. However, only the Attorney General's office is established by the Constitution, as Article 76 does not mention the post of Solicitor General of India or Additional Solicitor Generals of India. Okay, so you will ask me, ma'am, then how this post came into existence? Let us examine. Okay, so the office and responsibilities of the Solicitor General and Additional Solicitor General are regulated by the Law Officers Condition of Service Rules 1987 rather than the Constitution, making them statutory provisions rather than constitutional ones. So kindly remember this, that the post of Solicitor General of India, okay, is a statutory post, and it is created by this act known as Law Officers Conditions of Service Rules 1987. Okay. The Solicitor General provides legal advice to the government and is appointed for a 3-year term. See, in the case of Attorney General, the term was not specified, and this differentiates the Solicitor General post and the Attorney General post, that the term of the Solicitor General is defined and he holds his office for a period of 3-year term. However, the term of the office of Attorney General of India is dependent on the doctrine of pleasure of the President, as I was explaining to you before also. And who appoints the Solicitor General of India? Prime Minister chaired appointment committee of the cabinet. So this post itself becomes very important because he is appointed by a committee chaired by the Honorable Prime Minister. So see, what happens is, let me explain you this in brief, that the government of India requires legal assistance, requires representation throughout the courts in India in which it is a party. So Attorney General single-handedly cannot manage the legal cases. Okay, so he also needs support. So to support him, the post of Solicitor General and Additional Solicitor General was created, though it is very different from the post of Attorney General of India. Why? Because it is a statutory post and not a constitutional post. So Solicitor General of India and Additional Solicitor General's post were created to help the Attorney General of India. Now let us understand who is the Advocate General for the state. Okay. So the Constitution has provided for the office of Advocate General for the states. He is the highest law officer in the state. So this is a counterpart of the Attorney General for India. So who is the counterpart of the Attorney General for India in the states? The Advocate General for the states. And Where is it mentioned? The post of Advocate General of the state. It is mentioned under Article 165 of the Indian Constitution. The governor of each state shall appoint a person. So mandatory to appoint a Advocate General for the state. Whenever there is this word shall, it casts a mandatory duty. So Attorney General of India appointed by whom? President. Then Advocate General of India appointed by whom? Governor. Okay. And who is qualified to be appointed as a judge of a high court? So in the case of Attorney General, we saw that he should have the eligibility of appointment as the Supreme Court judge. In the case of Advocate General, he should have the eligibility to be appointed as the High Court judge. Okay, so he should fulfill all of the requirements that are mentioned for appointment of a High Court judge under Article 214 of our Indian Constitution. Okay, so Advocate General post also becomes very important because it is a constitutional post. State governments also require, representation in legal cases, and that is why these law officers become even more important, because they are directly representing the state government as well as the central governments in various different courts in India. Okay. The Advocate General shall hold during the pleasure of the governor. See, again there is a similarity. Attorney General, pleasure of the President. Advocate General, pleasure of the governor. And shall receive such remuneration as the governor may determine. Okay. So, his remuneration and term of office as well as his removal is determined by whom? The governor of the state. Okay. The duties, rights, privileges, functions and responsibilities of an Advocate General are very much similar to the Attorney General of India, but the only difference is that it is confined to the respective state only. So, Advocate General of India is very similar to the Attorney General of India. He works in the state government, and Attorney General for India is the highest law officer for India as a country. So, the post is confined to the states only, but Attorney General for India is a constitutional post created for whole of the India. So, this is a major difference between Advocate General of a state and Attorney General of India. Apart from this, the Advocate General also cannot vote in the houses of the Parliament. Okay. So, kindly remember all of these differences between the Advocate General of the state and the Attorney General for India. With this, we come to a conclusion of our today's discussion. Okay. So, we have discussed who is the Attorney General for India. I have also asked you to mention who is the recent Attorney General for India in the comment box below. And we have also seen who are the Solicitor Generals and Additional Solicitor Generals. And we have also seen the post of Advocate General for the state. So, basically, you should understand that these posts are very important. Why? Because the Government of India as well as the state governments require representation throughout the courts, various courts in which they are implicated as parties. Okay, now let us discuss a practice question for your prelims examination. So the question is, consider the following statements. Your statement number 1 is the office of the Attorney General for India is the highest law officer in the country. Okay. Your statement number 2 is the Attorney General for India has the first right to audience in all the courts of India, such as the Supreme Court, High Court, districts and session courts. So, which of the following statements given above are correct? Your options are: option A is 1 only, option B is 2 only, option C is both 1 and 2, and option D is neither 1 nor 2. Kindly drop your answers in the comment box below. Now, let us understand a practice question and analyze a practice question for your mains examination. Okay. So, the question is, what is the ethos of the Constitution with respect to the post of the Attorney General? Comment. So, in the introduction, you will introduce what is the post of Attorney General. You will write that he is the highest law officer of India. You will mention the constitutional provisions of Article 76, 88. You will write about right to speak and take parts in the proceedings of the Parliament. You will write about the provision of the right to audience that is given to the Attorney General for India, and in the body you will write about the requirement of this post, that Government of India and the if the question is about Advocate General, you will write that the government of states also require representation whenever they are involved in a legal matter. And Attorney General for India is very important, post, law officer post that represents the government at various courts in India. And he is also known to make, remarks that are beneficial to the government of India. He is also known to represent the government of India whenever the presidents ask the advice for the Supreme Court under its advisory jurisdiction. So you'll read that this is a very important constitutional post and he is the highest law officer in the country. Then you will conclude that this post is very important. Our constitutional fathers or the founding fathers of our Indian constitution realized that this post was important to represent, to give representation, because right of fair justice is not only the right of citizens of India, it is also right of government. Okay, no one says that this right to free and fair trial and right to justice etc is just available to the citizens of India, it is also available to the governments as well. So you can conclude holistically that yes, governments also need speedy justice, they need justice, they also have a right to free and fair trial, and they also have a right of representation. So this post was very important, so you can conclude holistically. I hope this session was insightful for you. If you have any feedback regarding this session, kindly drop it in the comment box below. If you liked today's discussion and found it to be helpful, kindly like the video and subscribe to our channel for more such updates. Thank you.